Okay, this little video is how to modify the Kadee 803 ON3 couplers to remove the slack action centering feature. That slack action works well to center the coupler, but what happens is that when the cars are going down the track, if they're free rolling, they tend to kind of bounce back and forth together until you get to the caboose, which is really bouncing quite a bit, and it just doesn't look very prototypical because there's not enough mass to the cars. So this is my method to try to remove it but still have a centering spring, and what I'm using here is a Kadee number 5 HO scale centering spring and a small piece of styrene, and then the 803 coupler box and coupler. First thing we're going to do is we're going to have to remove on the bottom of this coupler here this little piece that's used to run inside the groove of the box to center it, because that would not be functional anymore and cause it not to work. So I'm just laying it on its side and slicing it off with an X-Acto knife like that. And then I'm using a file to make sure that's perfectly smooth on the bottom and that there's no burrs to catch on that edge anymore. Okay, that looks good. And then the other thing you have to do is get rid of this little piece sticking off the back here, because it's going to hit this back of the coupler box. So just cut that off. And then that's pretty much done for that right there. Next thing we're going to do is take the centering spring, and we're going to take the back edge of it here, and I'm just going to use a needle nose pliers. We're going to bend it down so it's flat, and then we are actually going to take it and grab it right at the bend and bend it all the way around. So basically we just bent it 180 degrees. As you can see, it's got like a little kind of a flange on there now, much like the coupler box has. And the second part's a little bit tricky here. And I've got an X-Acto or a Dremel with a small high-speed cutter on there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the centering spring by the front edge, or yeah, it would be the front edge when it was used normally in an HO coupler box, and I'm going to set my Dremel for a pretty high speed, and what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to end up taking and making this hole an oval, and we're going to come all the way down until it almost touches my pliers there, and it goes pretty quick. If you run it at a high speed, it doesn't take much to cut this very thin phosphor bronze down. So I'm going to turn this on, and I use my thumb here to kind of brace myself. That's about all it takes. Now there is a burr you can see in here caused by that, and what I'm going to do is just going to lay that on the edge of my workbench over here, try to catch the edge, and I'm just going to hold this down. Oops. Normally I'd use something that better to grab this, but I'm trying not to block it so you can see what's going on here. So I'm just going to slide that under there. And I'm just going to run this file in there just to take that burr out of there. Now what we're going to do is, you'll know if that groove is long enough if we can put this inside this box, and that flange should come right over the front edge there. Oops, forgot one other thing. Inside this box you'll need to take and slice off a little bit of these screw, I guess I don't even know what they're called, the little brown pieces where the screws could go through if you're using 2 screws. Now there's a burr on the bottom of this, and I'm going to take that off of there real quick too. It's a little easier to do it if you're not trying to do it in front of a camera here, but Try to find something better to put this on, and I'm just going to run this file over that. Okay, just make sure it's all flat. Make sure these things, if they got bent out, bend them way in so they touch, so they're strong. So those are touching each other now. Then we're going to stick this inside the box with that little flange over the front edge. And it looks like I have to go just a pinch more with my Dremel. Okay, and it's over the front edge. Then the coupler goes with the, just as it did before, with the trip wire going down. It's a little bit tricky to get that in there. You got to kind of hold it, then get in there and separate out those springs. Okay, and then the last piece is to add the short styrene behind the coupler, and then slide the cover on it, and it takes a little bit of adjusting, but once you get it in there, your coupler will center. Oops, I didn't have the cover snapped down. This one needs just a little bit more filing on the back side here. It can't be tight inside the box. It has to be fairly loose in there, and I see there's a burr on the back side here too. Alright, let's try to put all that back together again. So we will stick that back in there. You probably also want to put some graphite in there too. Get the springs out. Put the square of styrene in there. Put the lid on it. And I think with a little bit of graphite in there, that should be fine. Okay, here's the assembled coupler. I added some graphite in there, and you can see that it's centering pretty well now. So you have to do some filing on the coupler shank on these sides to make sure it's free of burrs and that it will it's a little bit thinner than it was before. But this is just one method that can be used to maintain a centering spring and get rid of the slack action.